45. Brown, 45. Hot, 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 hot.
You are listening to Any Given Sunday, Australia.
Yes, hello and welcome to the Any Given Sunday Australia podcast, the number one podcast in at least 3 households, 1 studio, NFL Australia head office, American Football Australia head office, ABC Studios, Budgie Smugglers, ESPN. Worldwide, we are trending and growing every single day. Joining us, as always, I'm just going to throw to you, boys. We've got at Danny Webb, AGSAU, and at Charlie Pick joining me today. But, boys, we've got some breaking news. Literally, for the first time ever, we've caught a break where the breaking news happens as we're going on instead of, 10 minutes after we finish recording. 2 players that we were going to talk about today, so we're going to move them to the very top, have signed at new teams. Russell Wilson, a 1 year up to $21 million with the Giants. And Stefon Diggs, bit of a surprise, 3 years up to $69 million with the Patriots. Danny boy, what are your early thoughts, mate? Straight into it.
I love this. Like, I've just come in and you know how much I love to do my research, wrote this full massive Google doc, and it was all for nothing because both the players go and sign 30 seconds before we go on air. Interesting. I had a couple of different landing spots for Diggs in this one, but for him to go to the Patriots, he was very heavily linked, and there was a definite potential he was going there, but that one's definitely shocked me.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, a bit more interesting. I did think he was going to go somewhere, but getting 3 years, Charles, you brought it up, 3 years, $69 million for a player that's, ever since he left your Bills, really on the decline.
Well, yeah, and I think without being too inside Bills football about it, the last 2 seasons of him at the Bills, and I think a big reason why they were okay trading away their top receiver, was his production dropped off late season and in the playoffs 2 years in a row. And Khalil Shakir was far and away a better receiver in the stretch than Stefon Diggs was while he was at the Bills. And I think one thing we've also seen a lot lately, players of that age at different positions, quarterbacks, receivers, a lot of people, that's first season coming back from an ACL for the older players. It takes a long time for them to be able to move. And there's no more position where it's more conspicuous than wide receiver. So I think what the Patriots have got is maybe a bit of a role player this year purely based on what he's physically capable of, and maybe a near elite, not quite elite slot receiver for a year or 2 after that. Yeah, he's not an out wide boundary X receiver anymore, I don't think. I just don't think he's got the pace, and I don't, he's an incredible route runner. Like he's a freak show at running routes. He's good in the end zone, in the red zone. But the Patriots are desperate. Don't get me wrong. They need people everywhere. No one needs more spots filled than the Patriots. I'm not sure if this one is going to work out.
Also, turns out he's not a family man. Did not want to go play with his brother and the Cowboys. And it might have had something to do with the fact that it's the Cowboys.
A theme this year. People are taking the money over the family.
Might have something to do with the Cowboys, and let's not rule that out, all right? Let's not rule that out. But I really thought he would have been pushing harder to go to someone who was contending more. I know the Patriots have got huge amount of draft capital in this. I think they got 4 in the top 100 this coming draft, which is absolutely huge. And they got still heaps of cap space. So, there's room for them to improve. But I thought Diggs would have been chasing that chip.
And, Charles, you say about being the veteran in the room, he doesn't come with a lot of those veteran kind of qualities. A lot of toxicity seems to follow him wherever he goes.
He is not renowned for being a team player. He has been an incredible receiver, and he has taken catches that all but about 3 human beings on the planet can take. But there were stories of the difficulties with him in the locker room for years before he actually left, and the Bills had to work very hard just to tamp that talk down while they were trying to contend. And you have a look at the team; they scored more points than they have ever before by getting rid of him than by keeping him. So, yeah, if I was a young... Also, I will say, Drake May is in an interesting position. He's very much in a Josh Allen position. He's a new quarterback, and his team has gone and got Stefon Diggs to help him be a better quarterback. I'm not 100% sure that's right for your development as a leader of the team, because all of a sudden there is a louder voice there. Now, maybe, to be honest, Stefon Diggs, maybe he's at the Patriots because other people weren't on the phone.
That's it. The options weren't very...
And like has been said, surely he would have wanted to be a contender. I mean, he's clearly driven to win because he gets bent out of shape completely when he doesn't. But if he's at the Patriots, I think no one was ringing. I don't think the big offers were there. Does that humble him after going to Houston and being their third top receiver, like their number 3 receiver in Houston, and then now ending up at the Patriots, who aren't a contender? Does it make him humble, or does it actually make it worse? Does he become that player who now, sadly, we hear more about grievance and deleting all the team photos off Twitter and all of those things we associate with disgruntled wide receivers? Is that that's highly possible we're going to get that from Diggs?
I think you're 100% there. The offers weren't there, and $23 million a year was just too much to not take. But the other one, Danny Boy, the Giants signing Wilson, they also signed Jameis Winston during the week. So they've gone from just having Tommy DeVito to now having a pretty stacked QB room. But the Giants is where the QBs go to die, mate. So how's he going to go 1 year?
I think it's smart for the Giants. The Giants probably needed this just to have some form of security, especially with Malik Neighbors and the number 3 pick, which we'll get to a little bit later. Super smart with the money as well. Like only $10.5 million in the deal. Like they're actually probably going to pay him because the rest of it's all in incentives, and it's the Giants. So I don't know if he's going to be hitting them anytime soon.
Also, Wilson, just on the topic of money, would have been happy to not really bargain hard for money because, according to 98.5 KYGO radio in Colorado, the Broncos, their headline on their website as of like about half an hour ago, the Denver Broncos will pay Russell Wilson to play against them for the Giants in 2025. So he's still getting that sweet Broncos money, and now he's getting some Giants money. Russell Wilson's happy. I don't think anyone, and he can come out of this season. If the Giants don't contend, no one's blaming Russell Wilson.
Is it how much of a kick in the plums is it that they're willing to pay you to play against them?
It is interesting.
We're really not that worried about you. We'll give you $30 million and you can go play. You can come against us. We'll get the W or whatever.
I don't think they've got much choice, but I think, there's a lot of positive talk about the Broncos, particularly after their season last year. But if it weren't for the Browns and Deshaun Watson, that Russell Wilson contract would still be talked about as one of the worst deals of the last 10 years. And you have a look at it now, like he's a bargain for New York because the Broncos are footing the bill. Sorry, Danny, I cut you off though, talking your theories on Russell Wilson at the Giants. How do you think he's going to go? He's got one of the best young receivers in the league.
I was all for leaving that behind and starting to talk about some of these stinky QB contracts that have gone around in the past 5 to 10 years. There's been some shockers.
All right.
Throw us $1 million to play against them. I'll take it.
No, well, what he's going to do at the Giants is still like a massive question mark because it still is the Giants. But, they are moving ever so slightly in the right direction. Any excuse to move on from Daniel Jones because he wasn't it. He ain't getting it done. And then I already thought Winston was enough of an improvement despite him having like a 50% ratio of touchdowns to interceptions. But yeah, throwing Wilson there, a little bit of stability. I reckon it's going to help their offense.
I think you're right. I think also it's worth remembering that Brian Daboll is an excellent offensive coordinator. He knows how to scheme up an offense. Have a look at how the Giants did the first year they got there, making Danny Dimes look like an actual quarterback. It
was only 2 years ago we had both New York teams first 9 games hadn't lost a game or something like that. It was something ridiculous.
I don't think it was that ludicrous, Thomas.
No.
They were doing quite well.
Between them. Let's not.
I think they'd still be writing about it in the New York Post if that had happened. But
New Jersey Post.
Yeah. But there is the potential there And I think that the smartest thing about this is they've got a nice high draft pick. We're going to get to the draft shortly. It means that they can use that at another position of need or get another, game-changing player at an important position rather than quarterback, which once again, quarterback is always a crapshoot when you draft a quarterback. There are very few that are guaranteed successes. And, if they'd used that valuable pick on a quarterback that didn't work out, well, it's the end of Daboll and Shane at the Giants. There's absolutely no way they would survive the end of the season if they picked badly there. But as it is, they can get a terrifying edge, a great tackle. Like there are things that they can do with that money that shore them up in other ways. And the floor with Russell Wilson. And I think he exceeded expectations at the Steelers last year. Not a great offensive team. And I think a great opportunity here. Maybe they can, show some improvement quickly.
Well, let's get to that draft that we kept alluding to. It's 29 days as we record till the draft. And boys, it's the first time ever that at this point, so close to the draft, that every team holds their current first-round pick and there hasn't been any trades. Danny boy, is there any teams that should trade up and down? Are we going to see any trades up and down?
I'm just really going to touch on the top three here, and I don't think any of these three teams should move up and down. And I'll get to why. But it's interesting exactly what you're saying, that all the teams do have their own trades. It would be crazy to see them actually all stick fat and hold them. And honestly, it wouldn't blow my mind because every single team out there needs a certain position. But the top three ones probably the most desperate for those positions, and they're going to be able to get them. And then after that, it's pretty open slather. So, number one, everyone knows this. Like, it is signed, sealed, delivered. Cam Ward is going to the Titans. I think it's paying like $1.06 for those betting. He's gone. He's done. So we don't even need to touch on that. And then we start looking at other QB.
The Titans have had they had a private workout with him, so just to really seal the deal.
Seal the deal?
Like with a trainer? Do they go to one of those? Do they go to Equinox, the exclusive gym, and have a private session?
I don't know where it was, but they did.
Either to seal the deal or absolutely drive up that price of that number one pick, being like, "Hey, we actually want it. So whatever you're going to give us more." So
the one little added tidbit, they did a private workout, but also the night before Cam Ward's pro day, he had dinner with the Titans. Ooh. So you only get one team to have dinner with the night before your pro day, and he had it with the Titans. He sat down for steak with the Titans. So
Danny's right. He's not moving.
He's not. Yeah, I don't think there's any head fake here by the Titans. I don't think there's any like magical misdirection going on.
It was a $50 steak. They're not spending that on him. And then
it's probably $150 steak.
I say went to Tomahawk. It was $150. I reckon.
And then the other QB that everyone's kind of talking about, but probably not in the most positive way, which is not what you want during draft time, is Sanders. So there's a lot of talk that he's going to drop further down this list. So he actually doesn't make my top three. So the Browns obviously is next at number 2. They could take him because their QB room is not good, unless you're counting Kenny Pickett in there. But so they could potentially look at trading up or down in a situation, or they could pick the edge, Abdul Carter, and line him up against Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett just signed that massive deal with him, decided to come back, so why not support him by putting someone great next to him? And then we've got the Giants who have just signed, Wilson, Winston, any other W's they want out there. So they're sweet now at QB. So why wouldn't they be signing Travis Hunter and pairing him up there against Malik Neighbors?
Is that you presuming that Hunter's going in as a wide receiver, not a cornerback?
You can do both. Throw him on the other end. Doesn't matter.
Giants could do with both.
Both.
I have heard that he's putting cornerback next to his name, so that's for punting purposes because there's a lot of which wide receiver is going to be the first off the board, and I did see that Travis Hunter isn't in that group, so
he's nominated as a cornerback.
As a cornerback, yeah.
Interesting. It's also very interesting. If you were just talking money, you would say wide receivers. Wide receivers are going to make more money. However, it is harder at the moment to find elite cornerbacks, and the cornerback market has been reset as well. And cornerbacks are going up and up and up. So it could be that he sees, I'm more elite at quarterback by comparison to the rest of the field than I am a wide receiver. And I can still make a lot of money because the contracts are getting bigger.
And look at the coach he's coming from. He's definitely going, look, mate, this is where the money is. Go down that route for sure.
Just on the Browns there, Danny, I think your logic is very good that if they can take an Abdul Carter, Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett on that D-line is a terrifying notion. And all of a sudden the Browns have got that defensive reputation that they've had occasionally. Occasionally you've been scared of their defense and their D-line, but that's a terrifying thing for anyone to face. It doesn't matter who they are. The best O-line in the league is going to struggle against that. Do you buy into it all, the social media posts from Deshaun Watson showing him working out in the Browns gym, hitting the battle ropes like a monster, still with his leg brace on, making sure it was visible in all shots so he doesn't void his contract? But do you think that there's any chance that Deshaun Watson is the future of the Browns at quarterback? They've invested a lot in him. Do they dump their stock now, or is he actually going to be the quarterback?
For him, for his sake, he wants to be the quarterback because he is protecting that giant contract that he has, and he's going to do everything he possibly can. If that means doing battle ropes when he doesn't want to, if that means playing QB when he probably doesn't really want to anymore, like he will do.
I'd be doing battle ropes for $220 million guaranteed. I would absolutely do it.
I'd do it blindfolded, upside down, underwater, like for $220 million guaranteed. Let's do it. He is not the future. He is not the future of the Browns, and the Browns know that. And I think they're doing everything they can, probably to try and get out of that contract, and have been for the past couple of years. But as we said at the top of the show, that is a stinky ass contract, and they're stuck with it.
So who then what do they do at quarterback if they don't? Like what's
they got Kenny Pickett as their backup, obviously Super Bowl champion with the Eagles as a backup. Probably not the answer. But then you still look at someone like how we mentioned last week, someone like Kirk Cousins, who has stayed with the Falcons as a backup, probably the most expensive backup going around. He could still go out there and lead a team. And if you've got a good defense and shore up an offensive line for him, like he's coming off that old man injury, that Achilles. No one plays well after their first Achilles season. So that's why he probably got benched. He could probably go out there and actually, make a difference. And with having that elite defense, it will really help the offense. That defense can almost hold teams to a very little amount. So as long as someone like Kirk could go out and just score just a little bit more, like you don't have to go out there and be elite, but you do need to be better than Watson.
If the plan is something like that, they also need to draft a running back high because their running back room is scant.
Well, they got rid of Nick Chubb, who's been a superstar.
And, that the Stefanski offense needs to have a strong running game to function anyway. I mean, every team needs a strong running game, but particularly if you've got a Cousins, if you've got a slower quarterback, you need to have more going on than just the passing game.
Yeah. All right. We've spoken about the Browns for way too long.
Definitely way too long. Apologies. Yeah.
I do hope, Danny Boy, you're saying that there's going to be no moves. I hope we have a Texans kind of draft day where, 2 minutes before the pick, they're thrown out and there's been trades. And we want a serious draft day, kind of like the movie where trades are flying around left, right, and centre because, boy, it makes it exciting. I do think they're going to take.
Sorry, quickly on the draft day, we're having a watch party. Not of the draft, of the movie.
Well, yeah, we have to do a draft day watch party. I don't know about you guys. I watch it every year.
I love it. I think it's
the draft.
One of the greatest movies ever.
I'll tell you what, people should hit us up on social media. If we booked a room somewhere, would you come to a draft day watch party?
Come to a draft day with us. Watch draft day on draft day.
Draft day on draft day.
Yeah.
Sorry, T-Mac, as you were.
No, as I was. So we said, I do think Abdul Carter is going to the Browns. So they're going to be absolutely elite on the defensive side. So the AFC North have obviously come out and said, we need to make our offense a lot stronger. And Danny Boy, you've broken down the wide receiver contracts I think they're still not the most expensive offense, but definitely the most expensive wide receiver room at the Bengals.
Yeah, so obviously the Chase contracts come out and signed 161 million. Then you got the Higgins at 115, which is 10 million higher than any other wide receiver duo. More importantly to that though, throw Burrow in the mix because obviously his contract ain't small either. They are taking up 40% of the Bengals cap space. 40% of their whole cap space is gone on 3 players.
So how many there's 52 on a roster. So between 49 of them, they need a 1% share each.
Exactly.
1.1 or something like that.
We're not mathematicians here, are we?
No, but that's a lot of money in 3 spots. So are they going out, like, there's going to be every game next year is going to be like the Bengals versus the Ravens where it was 44-48?
I think that's what they're hoping for because they're not spending money anywhere else. They can't.
No.
They can't. They're not going to be stopping anyone when all that money is on that offense.
Charles, what's the Bengals draft capital like? You're the draft capital guru. Are they going to go out and just try and draft the whole defense?
Well, that's the thing. This is my new area of interest for the draft is adding up the value of the relative picks, which teams actually have the most draft capital going in, which means they can move around more. They can go up and get picks by trading some away. The Bengals have the 20th most draft capital. They've got 6 picks, 17, 49, 81, 119, 153, 193. Not too bad. You know, they're sitting in the middle of most of the draft rounds. But compared to other teams out there like the Bills, the Bengals, the Niners, who've got 10, 11 draft picks, they don't necessarily have a hell of a lot of picks to get that value. And like you're saying, they don't have the bucks. They just don't have the dollars. They're one of the teams that needs to use all of their picks, maybe even try and trade down to pick up some more picks because they need cheap players on their roster now.
Well, there's a rumor that Trey Hendrickson, who's their best, defensive lineman, might sit out the season if he doesn't get a deal that he wants. So they're going backwards on defense, but they're getting better on offense.
That's right. I mean, isn't the big question here is a team, admittedly, the Bengals have been cheapskates for too long and not invested. And obviously, when you have a generational quarterback like Burrow, you can't do that anymore. But does that necessarily mean you make Burrow the de facto GM, telling you who to sign and how much to spend and saying you don't have a choice but to sign these 2 receivers? That's
where
I don't think it's a way to run a ball club.
This seems very, very familiar to a certain player that we're going to talk about in possible free agencies. We'll get onto that now because we're wasting a lot of time talking about teams that don't really matter. I did have 3 free agents that I wanted to throw out there. One of them has just been signed. So we've got 2. We'll talk about the last 2 that we do have that are still out there. That's still got some... One of them definitely still has a few years to play. And Danny, I'll throw to you first. Keenan Allen. He's still a free agent, left the Bears, didn't really get used as much as what he probably should have. I still think he's a superstar, so where's he going to end up?
I honestly think he's heading back to the AFC West, and it ain't going to be the Chargers. I believe he's gone on the Raiders. Go play for the AFC West rival and go help out Geno. Geno's going to need some help there. He's gone, he's signed. The wide receiver room's never really been all that impressive, but throw Keenan Allen in there, give him a target, give him someone to do what he needs to do. I think, honestly, it'll be such a great move if he goes to the Raiders.
And there is some talk of Kenneth Walker going there from the Seahawks as well. So they could be all of a sudden up and about the Raiders, which would be interesting. The other one, Charles, that I had lined up, Aaron Rodgers. He spent 6 hours...
I'm not familiar with the name. I've not really heard a lot about him.
He's not a Q, he's a GM. GM, Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
He's going to try his hand at quarterback again. Spent 6 hours at the Steelers facilities the other day. Is that sign, seal, deliver? Is that where he's going?
It seems very likely that is where he is going to end up. I don't think, from my understanding of Aaron Rodgers, I don't think he spends 6 hours in meetings at a facility unless he's considering it very seriously and is going to go there. I think it's interesting that the Steelers have dedicated that much time to talking to Aaron Rodgers. And I've always he could go there. I still find it such an interesting cultural fit because Tomlin's a no bullshit coach. He doesn't like prima donnas and he has no time for it. You have a look at the way his relationship with George Pickens as a receiver. He's got no time for anyone being a prima donna or trying to make themselves bigger than the team. And it's an interesting match of Aaron Rodgers, who, in many situations thinks he's more important than the GM and the coach. How that works with a Mike Tomlin it is going to be very, very interesting to see. Is he the guy that's actually going to turn that offense around for the Steelers? The defense was great last year. If they had a better offense, they would have gone much further.
But there's also rumours that George Pickens is out the door as well. Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Who's your source for that? You said that like
I don't reveal my sources.
Mate, I'm getting out of Pittsburgh,
out of Green Bay. My sources are telling me that he's going to Green Bay. So.
Oh, really?
Your sources is in your wishes in your head.
Yeah.
I have sources everywhere, boys. Don't worry about that. I just see that there's a little bit of he's not as happy since DK Metcalf's come in, and that George Pickens could be out the door.
Just back to Rodgers, because that's where we kind of were at. Where else is he going to go if he doesn't go to the Steelers? Like that is the only place left that he's having meetings. So
well,
he's not signing.
Said no, so he's not going.
He's
not signing with the Steelers. He ain't signing anywhere.
He'd be retired.
Or does
no one's going to after have 12 months off and then no one's going near him then.
Well,
not at 56 or whatever he is.
He's Father Time. I think there is the only other play I think for Aaron Rodgers at this stage is he actually doesn't sign with the Steelers for whatever reason it is. And he sits it out and waits for a training camp injury. Like that, there is going to probably be a team,
or the Browns to sign him.
All for the Browns to sign him, but do they even have money anymore? I don't even know if they've got any money.
Not the money
anymore.
to get him, not the money that he wants.
No,
I don't think so.
He could be a Garoppolo type who just sits back for this preseason and waits for someone to really need a quarterback, and that's where he goes.
I just can't see him doing that though. I feel like if no one wants me, then I'm sailing off. He's got money's not an issue. He's got plenty of that. And he's very much like you said, a little bit of a prima donna. I still love him. I'll put that out there. I still love him. But he likes to feel wanted. And if no one wants him, then he's going to be like, you know what? I'm out of here.
So he could just retire to spend time with his family. Well, not his family. With his friends. Oh, not his friends. Yeah. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? He ain't got nothing else he can do.
He can write another book, maybe.
Just on the Browns.
Hey, if you want to come on the podcast, I know he's a big fan.
I do suspect that he and RFK Jr. are going to have the most conspiratorial podcast on the planet. I think that's one possible path for Rodgers.
What about
out of
politics?
This.
Maybe he just goes down. He actually just jumps in.
Yeah,
none of the politicians have friends.
No, as the old Washington saying is, if you want a friend, get a dog. And
I've got two.
Well, that speaks volumes, Thomas. But it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, he could go into politics. I think he'd find out very quickly that quarterback talent doesn't go a long way in politics. But I mean, even his TV show, Enigma, most people didn't go more than 3/4 of an episode deep. I mean, obviously you, Thomas, but
I didn't even actually make it 3/4 of an episode. I haven't started it.
Yeah,
I thought it was great. So,
but I don't think there was the massive outpouring of support for Aaron Rodgers that he might have liked. So I don't think his post-career options are enormous either.
They're not.
So I think he will. I think he is more needy than he would let on.
Yeah. 100%. That is a great little segue, though, Charles. Just to kind of plug, the Netflix show Receivers is back for another year. It's come back as quarterback season 2, which I think is going to be great. Again, was Jared Goff in the first one? He's in this one. It was Mahomes, wasn't it?
Cousins.
No.
Cousins is returning. So it
was Cousins, Mahomes, and Mariota were in the first one.
Ah, that's right. Joey B. Cousins is going again, which I think it's a good season to follow him last year where, it was a bit of a turmoil, so I reckon he'll be a good watch. And then Jared Goff. So I think it'll be a good season and a good one to watch. One last thing I do want to talk about before we wrap it up and head on our merry ways back to our actual jobs. There's been some proposed rule changes.
Oh, spicy.
I love that the
Love the
teams
rules.
actually are allowed to propose these rules and they get voted on. And I'm sure it'll be at the owners' meetings or something they get voted on and brought into play. Two of them I want to talk about, Danny Boy. One of them because it kicks you right in the agates, and that's what I love to do more than anything. The first one is that the Packers have come out and want to change the tush push. They want to get rid of the tush push. They happy for a quarterback sneak, but not having a second player behind to actually push. So this hurts you because you've just gone out and got the biggest quads in ever with Barkley, Hurts, and AJ Dillon. I hope this doesn't get through because you'll just run that every play and no one will ever actually stop you.
Yeah, we're going to tush push the whole way out the field. Offense, defense, we don't give a fuck. We're not that big. We're that big. We're just going to push tush everywhere. Nah, this route, poo-poo the Packers. Like, that sucks. Just let the boys play. Just because you can't stop it, you can't just go complaining to dad because you can't beat us.
Yeah, I agree with that. There is, and this is like, we've absolutely got 2-1 vote on this because I think you've got a problem with it if you can't do it. And there's actually, I think there's two teams that consistently do it, and it's the Eagles and the Bills. We call it the snowplow. You call it the tush push, but like, I think it would be worthy of changing the rules if every team was doing it all the time. If it had ruined the game because everyone's doing it and it becomes boring. Anytime you're 2 yards or less from a first down, everyone's doing a tush push and it gets boring and it happens all the time.
You're right.
And
it is boring.
You change the rules for the good of the game. But the fact of the matter is, it's not an epidemic. There's only two and a half teams that can actually do it consistently.
And a lot of teams that try fail at it.
Yeah, you're right. Let's put an end to it. That's shit. 2.5 too many, I think.
Also, it's pretty tricky. Like, where do you draw the line then? One of the best moments in football is when either a running back or a quarterback is sneak gets sort of held up by the D line, but the O line gets behind and pushes them, and the strength of the O line shifts it forward. The actual just pure line on line strength where everyone's all in pushing can be one of the more entertaining parts of the game. But isn't that a player getting behind and pushing someone as well? Do we get rid of that as well?
No, don't like it. It's an illegal rule. I don't like it.
Hate good football.
Anything to have a crack at Danny, I'm all for it. So
I think the obvious rule change that they're talking about, which I think is a no-brainer and will absolutely happen, is change to the overtime rules. Because at the moment, the overtime rules in the playoffs, which changed after the Chiefs-Bills 13 seconds game, which ensures that both teams get an opportunity to win in overtime. But in the regular season, it's still the old rule that if you win the toss, you could score a touchdown and that's it, and the other team doesn't get a fair crack at it. I think that's a no-brainer.
That'll be an easy change, won't it? So I think that one definitely gets through. And the other one that I think, Danny Boy, and I don't know if we spoke about it, it's the changing of the seedings. Detroit has put this one forward, which is interesting because it didn't really affect them. It affected their rivals, the Minnesota Vikings, who would have finished third if it had have gone by actually win-loss. They end up going fifth because of the top four seeds get through on their division. So it'll still be the same where you win your division, you're in, but then the next best three, but it is all seeded by your win-loss ratio. I think that's good. It kind of keeps the games interesting towards the end of the year where instead of, if you've won the seed, it doesn't really matter. Or if you're winning your division halfway through the season, you can kind of start to ease off a bit. This might hurt people like the Chiefs a little bit. They can't just kind of win their division and then just ease off. The Bills, you're probably in the same boat. I like it. And it also, I think, Danny, you put this one down here. It doesn't matter if you're in the NFC South. You're not going to be punished.
I love how I put it down there. I was waiting that whole time during that spiel. I'm like, this is going to be the best punchline ever to finish this. You just go and steal it from me.
Yeah. It's a great point by you.
Nice to know you're the funny guy here.
Thank you. I need something. But yeah, well, what are your thoughts, Danny, besides the NFC South pun?
You stole my point. No, I couldn't agree more. Like, if you're playing in a shit division and you just get the division...
Both the South, really. NFC and AFC.
Yeah. And you take out the division so you're in the playoffs, great. I agree, fine, you should be in the playoffs. But it should not affect your seeding. If your division it was absolutely dominant, where 3 teams are going to make it to the playoffs. That should be your seedings. It should be your win-loss. Straight up.
And at the end of the day, it just means you get a high quality games based on that.
But what are your thoughts about then? Obviously, it changes who gets the home game. That's probably the biggest part of it, really.
I think that depends on if it affects the Bills. I think my take on that. It depends if I'll be shocked if in the next year or two we don't win the division. But
I don't know if you saw, the Patriots have made some fucking moves.
Oh, absolutely. I am scared of the Patriots. It's going to affect seeding, but whatever system it is will affect seeding. And the only way to win a Super Bowl is to be playing your best football in the last 4 weeks of the season. That's it. So, you could have a lower seed and you might be playing away, but if you are the best team and good enough to win a Super Bowl, you're going to be winning those games, or you have to win those games anyway.
Fair enough.
Can we sneak in one last thing before we go?
If you are quick, go ahead.
I can be very quick. Well, I think this was yours, Thomas, to put down, that Caleb Williams said that he wants to be the first billion-dollar player in football. So presumably that would be a 10-year, $100 million contract would be the simplest way to understand that. Yes, with the salary cap going up, that in our lifetime we might see the $100 million quarterback. I think it's entirely possible. As you asked, will it be Caleb Williams?
I think he's come out and actually said it. He hasn't asked for it. He said this, I want to be the first billion-dollar.
I would file this under foolhardy thing a sophomore quarterback says going into their second season, along with CJ Stroud ranking himself as number 3 on the top 5 quarterbacks in the league in the offseason after 1 year. I think it's a bold statement by Caleb Williams.
I honestly think he must be getting real close to like launching a makeup label or something, because you look at all the billion-dollar artists and stuff out there. They're like, 200 million net worth for the year, rah, rah, rah. Then they release a makeup company like Selena Gomez. Now she's worth 1.3 billion. So maybe Caleb Williams has a little makeup business on the side that he's just working on, keeping that. And he's like, I want to be the first billion-dollar player.
Nails by Caleb could be a thing.
Yeah, Caleb by Caleb. Could be a play. No, I think he did actually say it comes from his contract. So I don't know where the numbers actually come from, whether he said it, but he said, 10 years, 110. So it'll end up being $1.1 billion or something like that, which is outrageous.
Some of that's got to be incentives. I don't know how much is going to be guaranteed.
He said guaranteed, 800 guaranteed.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if it come from him, but when I read it, I was like, you're the worst in the best division. You are the worst.
That's
we'll see that they have picked up on the O-line. We'll see if the Bears can come out and actually do something this year. If they don't, I reckon they get rid of him.
This is the perfect script, though. Is exactly what Charlie was saying for that sophomore dump, isn't it? So like that decline that they have in their second year. Like, even though his first year wasn't great, there's potentially he's going to dip after this, and that is perfect fuel for you, TMac, to just absolutely launch on him some more.
Even if he is good, I'll still be launching on him. Don't worry.
If we're talking about this, what do you think the Bears locker room thinks of it?
Yeah.
Well,
how much percentage of that is of the cap? Danny, you're the percentage
All
man.
of it.
It's 150% of the cap.
It's a lot of it.
Well, no, it's 110 million a year at this stage would be. It's what is about 40%.
It's a third of the cap, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
third of the cap.
250, something like that.
Hang on, we should know that it went up again this year. It might be about.
I reckon it's like 260, something like that. So,
but look. If I were a betting man, and I'm not putting money on that happening.
Nah, not with it. It'll happen, not him.
Yeah,
it'll happen exactly in our lifetime, like you said. But it's just we ain't seeing it with Caleb. Not anytime soon. Nah. Not in his career. Well, I don't think we'll see it.
Okay, well How about this? Which quarterback do you think is most likely to sign the $100 billion? Sorry, the $1 billion deal?
Archie Manning.
You reckon Archie Manning? I reckon Jaden Daniels.
See, I still think that's too early.
I think it's very early, but he's young enough and he's good.
Yeah. Is he? No, he's an older quarterback, though. He's 25, 26 already.
Oh, it's ancient. God.
No, but that is in quarterback years.
No,
I know
you're right.
We've had a couple that have lasted.
Although it's possible. It's possible.
Aaron Rodgers' first son's younger than that.
His second son is also younger than that.
Okay, so he's a 24-year-old quarterback, right? 24-year-old quarterback. I mean, it's possible to play to 40. We've seen it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Around 38, 39, he signs a 10-year deal. You don't think Jaden Daniels?
TMac's having kittens over here.
Yeah, I just had to chill up.
Getting absolutely rolled up. Yeah, so the base salary cap for 2027, I've just looked ahead, is $311 million.
So we're right. It's a third of the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm saying, you've said Jaden. You're wrong when you've said it, but you've said it. Danny boy, just send us out who you think's going to get it.
They're probably not born yet. I still think we're a little while
Jalen
away.
Hurts, and I'll slap you if you say Jalen Hurts.
No. I've got my logical hat on today.
Good. Nice. Yeah, you're right. Oh, no, I think it's in the next 10 or 15 years, but
I was going to say, I'd love it if Danny's bet is they are not born yet. Like, that is almost as farcical as Caleb Williams.
I reckon that's 20, probably 28 years away if Danny's. You might be right.
Also, not specific enough a bet. You can't bet that the first $1 billion player is going to be anyone born after now.
After today.
Like, that's too broad. Does not count as a bet.
No, it's paying $1.01 though, so that's good. Nice. All right, boys, we've talked a lot of dribble towards the end. We are getting into that crazy season. 29 days till the draft. I'm excited. It's going to be an interesting few weeks, so we'll see you in the next couple of weeks to do it all again.
And can we just, I'm putting stuff out to get people hitting us up on socials.
If anyone's still listening, that'd be amazing.
No, they will be, surely. But I was just going to say, tell us what you're interested in the draft, what you want us to look at and talk about. Because you can come at the draft so many different ways, but we've got, 29 days before the draft. What can we do to make it more interesting, explain anything more helpful to you? Let us know.
Let us know. Hit him up at Charlie Pick.
Hit me up at Charlie Pick. I mean, mentions are turned off. It's, nightmare. No.
Love it. All right, boys. As always, see you next time and go Pack Go.
Go Bills.
Go Birds.